Welcome to Local Edition. I'm Jim Giggins. With us is Sierra Smith of the Canine Connection. And as it sounds, it has to do with dogs, but also dogs and kids.
Absolutely. We are a youth empowerment organization that pairs shelter dogs with at-risk high school kids. And through the pairing of the dogs with the kids, the students learn how to set and achieve goals and a lot about life skills.
Now, these are at-risk kids.
These are at-risk kids. We specifically work with continuation schools and community day schools, as well as one residential facility.
And how does pairing the at-risk kids with the dogs help the kids?
Well, the main way that it helps the kids is that the dogs very often reflect what's going on with the students. A lot of dogs are gotten as puppies and nobody's taken the time to train them, teach them appropriate, and then when they get large, the puppy behaviors are no longer cute and the animals end up turned into a shelter. At the point when we're pairing these dogs with the kids, the dogs tend to have very little impulse control and they tend to be out of control of their own situation. The students relate to this a lot. The students very often, don't necessarily come from strong parental backgrounds. They haven't received a lot of guidance a lot of times. Very often they feel lost in the mix at the schools that they originally started at and for whatever reason weren't able to continue there, and so they've now been transitioned to schools. And so they see in the dogs a reflection of what's going on with them. And then when they first get the dogs, they don't have any dog training skills. We take the different skills that they need to train the dogs and we break with them those skills down into specific tasks. And they learn to take each step at a time to get the dogs where they need to go. And at the same time, they're learning how to break down goals into tasks and achieve their own dreams of what they want to do.
And they're with these dogs for 3 weeks.
They're with these dogs for 3.5 weeks for 2 hours a day, 5 days a week. And through that time, they are responsible for teaching these dogs the basic obedience skills that they need to help the dogs get adopted.
And at the same time, of course, they're getting certain obedience skills
Absolutely,
themselves.
absolutely. They watch how the dogs interact with each other and respond to each other. They see how the dog's body language a lot of times triggers another dog to bark at them. And they'll say, oh, well, this dog was staring at that dog and, giving him a dirty look. And it's like, well, do you ever think about how your body language affects how others perceive you, or maybe how your tone of voice affects the response that you get from somebody else? How the dog's behavior affects the consequences of the other dogs around and how the people react to them. The same way for the students, how they act in a situation is going to affect the outcome of the situation and the response that they get from other people. So it becomes a mirroring. And so they also learn the patience too, because the dogs require a lot of patience to train.
Yes.
And so they really learn how to take that time. But because they have such a the dogs emotionally, it becomes worth it for them to really invest in that dog, and they get a very strong sense of satisfaction, particularly when the dogs are getting adopted. All of the dogs eventually do get adopted, but very often they get adopted
as a different dog. This is not the same dog.
Exactly,
that
exactly. And the students have achieved benefiting the life of another being.
How did you see how this changes the student?
It's fascinating because a lot of the students, when they come in, they don't have an idea of what they're able to accomplish. They may have been expelled from school, they may have fallen behind and for whatever reason, not necessarily expelled, but been moved to a different school because they weren't able to keep up. A lot of them don't have ideas about going to college. They don't have a lot of ideas about long-term career objectives because the possibility for them of reaching a lot of these goals feels out of reach for what they feel able to do.
So they've accomplished something major here.
Exactly.
Do you follow up?
Yes, we do.
And what have your studies shown the student has changed?
What happens is that the students who initially a lot of times don't have an idea about where they can get to, we find are going to community college, have ideas about careers that they never necessarily thought they could find before. We have one student who had no idea what he wanted to do, and after going through the program decided that he really loved training dogs, and he's now apprenticing with a professional dog trainer, and he's being paid to do what we started him doing. So it really gives the students the desire to accomplish something. The fact that they can set a goal and figure out how to break it down and achieve it is a huge lesson for them.
Well, congratulations on the Canine Connection.
Thank you.
Thank you, and
very
thank
much.
you for joining us on Local Edition. I'm Jim Giggins.